Okay, we're gonna try that one more time. Sorry about that. So tonight I'm gonna be making some black beans, like I said. If you happen to be watching this video, I do appreciate it. One of the things I'm going to be doing is talking about self-love, self-worth, and knowing your worth tonight. Those are three really important things that I have had to learn over the time, the last several years, in fact. So I'm going to go over again what I'm putting in this black bean chili. I'm using lean ground beef because it was on sale. I got this giant pack, family pack, because it was cheaper by the pound that way. So I'm going to be using that, and I'm going to be using fire roasted diced tomatoes. If you have not had these before, they're really good and they have great flavor. I'm going to be using Kinder's wood fire chili seasoning and any brand of black beans that you choose. And I'm probably just going to drain them. I'm not going to probably rinse those first. And I'm going to put some chipotle paste in with my meat, cook it to give it a little extra kick without a lot of extra meat. And I'm also going to be using 1 packet of beefy onion soup mix when I make the ground beef. So I'll go ahead and get started, and we'll talk about the food while I'm cooking, and we'll talk about knowing your worth. So first I'm going to get this blender set up, and I'm going to get this ground beef going. And so like I said, just going to use my hands here. And pretty much it's just a one pot meal. I am going to use a strainer for the meat. And I have a little thing I like to do with the meat after I strain it. And I like my chili really meaty, so less beans, more meat. And it's really not time consuming. Slow cooking is always better, but doing it this way, you can still have really good chili with good flavor without the slow cooker method. So I'm using about 2 pounds of ground beef in here. I'm going to wash my hands real quick. I'm just going to set that to the side. So, talking about self-worth. So, it's really easy to get hung up on what everybody thinks of you, I think a lot of people count on others to make them feel good about themselves. And I'm probably guilty of that as well. I used to do that a lot, worry about what everybody else was thinking or saying or doing. I really don't do that anymore. It's more important what I think of me than what anybody else thinks of me. And you have to practice thinking that way in order to make that happen for yourself. It's not always easy, but daily practice does help it become a little easier. A lot of times, as people in general, we get knocked back by maybe what somebody else is thinking or saying about us, but you have to get to the point where you just don't care what anyone thinks, because really at the end of the day, you're the only one responsible for you. So I'm just going to open these diced tomatoes. Like I said, they're fire roasted diced. They have excellent flavor. And I put mine in the blender because I don't like them chunky. But if you like yours chunky, by all means, you can just put them right out of the can into the pot. Because we're going to add some beef to this, some liquids to this as well. So, self-worth, again, is something that it takes a lot of practice, because sometimes are very sensitive, and just one negative remark can make us feel really bad about ourselves. It takes practice to get to the point where you don't listen to the negative remarks. So that's kind of cooking away over there. I'm going to put some of this Chipotle chili paste in there. Just a spoonful is really all you need. If you like a little more meat, you can always add other things. You can add cayenne pepper or anything you like really to this. It's up to you. I'm just doing it how I do it. Again, cooking is always about what you like. So I'm putting about a half a tablespoon, or excuse me, teaspoon in there for now. Maybe I'll do just a little bit more. And this is just a chipotle paste. You could use just chipotle sauce if you like, but I like the chipotle paste because it'll break down pretty easy in here. So I'm just going to give this ground beef a stir, let it cook a bit. Being worth something to yourself is more important than being worth something to someone else. If you spend your whole life trying to make everybody else happy, you're going to be very disappointed in the results because you're just not going to be able to make everybody happy all the time. Being a people pleaser and those kinds of things leads you to a lot of disappointment. You're the only person that you need to be making proud of. It's up to you to make yourself proud of you. You can't depend on other people to validate your existence. You have to practice it. Being proud of every little accomplishment that you make. It takes a little effort. It takes a lot of practice. Getting out of that mindset where you feel like, well, if I wear this, then somebody won't like it. Somebody's going to make fun of me. Or if I do my hair like that, somebody's going to say something. But really, all in all, it really doesn't matter what they think. It really doesn't. Because you're the only one that's responsible for you at the end of the day. I'm not out trying to win any popularity contests, obviously. I used to get hung up on things like that, how I dress, what my weight is like. But I'm learning to come to terms with the fact that this is how I look. I don't have anything fake about me. I don't go to nail salons and get fake nails. I don't do hair stuff. I don't really wear a lot of makeup, hardly ever. And I have to be okay when I look in the mirror at me. I have to be okay with me at the end of the day. No matter what anyone else says or thinks, it's up to me to be okay with me. And you have to take anything that comes from an outside source. You have to practice being able to take that stuff with a grain of salt and just ignore it. Because, again, it really doesn't matter what anyone thinks. I know that we all want approval from people because maybe we want, approval by having a lot of material things or pretty things, and I'm not that kind of person. And I'm not saying you shouldn't want things. I'm saying your self-worth shouldn't rely on impressing people with money or things, because things and money can disappear. But your reaction to comments or outside sources does not have to be based on what anyone else thinks. Alright, so this beef is browning up pretty good and nice here. I always make sure I cook my ground beef really thoroughly. And I'm going to drain that here in just a minute and take it off the heat while I'm getting the tomatoes ready. So I'm going to cook that just a couple more minutes. But in the tomato stuff, what I like to do, I put 2 cans. Right now I'm using 2 just regular sized cans. They're, 14 ounces a piece of these diced tomatoes. I'm going to put that third one in there as well. I'm going to actually add a little bit of seasoning to those tomatoes as well. I'm going to use a little bit of beef bouillon. This is just powdered bouillon. You can get it from anywhere. It's not expensive. I like the Goya brand, but use whatever you like or whatever you have on hand. So I'm actually going to just put that whole pack in there. And I'm going to use a little bit of this chili seasoning as well in there. And this, if you have not tried this Kinder's, it's really, really tasty. Has a ton of flavor. Alright, so I'm just going to blend this up, and it's going to be noisy for just a second, so bear with me. So, I wanted to talk also, let me see if I can do this without... The chunks of tomato, like I said. I can deal with a little bit of them, but I don't care for it. So I'm going to set this to the side, and then I'm going to go ahead and get ready to drain this. So self-love is really important. And understanding that no matter what has been taught to you from childhood, no matter how you were raised, you have the ability to change how you feel about yourself. You can keep using that as a reason to stay stuck. Any childhood trauma, any trauma from past relationships or friendships, you can use that as a reason to just stay stuck where you are. Or you can use it as a reason to move forward and make yourself happy. You can't do anything to change what happened as a young person, as a child, or even as an adult from outside sources. You can't change anything that's happened in the past. All you can really do is adapt to the life that you have now. And you can make your life better. And this is lean ground beef, so it's not got a lot of fat in it at all. You could really use any kind of ground beef you want. Some people like ground sausage in it. You could do ground turkey, chili. It's really just whatever you like. I chose this because it was on sale. But you can use ground sirloin too, which is really tasty. And that did not have a lot of oil in it, but I do like to drain that off. So I'm going to put that back in the pot. And I'm going to add the 2 cans that I've done so far for the tomatoes. Like I said, I am going to add some more liquid and 1 more can of tomatoes to that. And I'm going to put this back on there on low, or excuse me, medium heat. And I'm going to get these black beans ready to drain. I'm using 1 can of black beans. If you don't like black beans, by all means, use red. Use any color beans you want. It's really up to you. I started experiment with the black beans and found that I just really like them in the chili. It tastes good to me. But if you don't like it, you can just use whatever you like. And I do rinse those. Actually, I might use 2 cans for that. And like I said, slow cooking is great, but if you want a nice hot bowl of chili and you want to do it in less than 30 minutes, this wood-fired chili seasoning will give you that flavor. So I'm going to put those in there now, and I'm going to add to that 1 can of water, and I'm just using the can that the beans came in. I'm going to give that a stir, and then I'm going to do I'm going to blend up this other can of tomatoes. So this is making that amount of meat, and the 1 beans is going to make just a little more than half a pot of chili. We only have 2 people in our household, so that's plenty for me. But if you have more, you can always use the whole pack of that family pack and a couple of extra cans of beans if you need to feed more than a couple of people. And I'm using about 1.5 packs of that chili seasoning too. So you could up it to 2 packs, or 2.5 if you need to make it taste good. Like I said, this is a great way to get a really good tasting chili without all the separate ingredients, and it's going to be really tasty when we're done. So loving yourself is the next thing I want to talk about. I don't know about you all, but I'm a Gen Xer, and I wasn't raised to love myself as a person. We were pretty much just the kind of family that we weren't really close, and I was the last of 5 kids, and I was the unexpected child, so I think I spent a lot of my time alone as a child. So I'm going to blend this up real quick. You could also do fresh tomatoes if you don't like the canned. I just do the canned because it's easier, and the other thing was they were on sale, buy one get one free. So anytime I see something buy one get one free, I try to take advantage of that. So I'm doing that typical trash bag on the cabinet thing until I'm ready to throw all this stuff in the garbage. So I've got that going. Alright, I've got the 1 can of beans in here, and about, like I said, just about a pound, maybe just about 2 pounds of the lean ground beef. And I'll let you see what that looks like. So that's so far. And it's gonna, you can also make that as thick or thin as you like. I like mine semi-soupy because I'd make a bowl of chili and I throw some cheese and sour cream in mine. You don't have to. It's just one of my things. So also, I'm going to add to that 1 pack of this Lipton beefy onion soup mix, which will give it a nice beefy flavor in the background. It does have the onions in it, but if you don't like that, you can always sift it out. I'm just going to leave it because there's so few onions in there. And also, if you do like onions in your chili or peppers, you can finely chop or dice some peppers and onions and cook it up with your ground beef and use that as well. I don't care for those things, but if that's what you like, please, by all means, do that. Again, cooking you don't have to be a chef. You just do what you like. If you don't like something, don't put it in there. It's really that simple. And I'm going to put the rest of this wood-fired garlic seasoning in here. And I'm not going to add any salt because there is salt in this wood-fired garlic. So if you'd like more salt in your chili, I would taste it first and see if that's going to be good for you. And then you can always add salt to your bowl. Also, again, with the hot stuff, if you don't like it hot and someone else does, they can always add some kind of hot whatever, anything really, to the bowl. So this is kind of soupy, and you could thicken it up if you wanted to, but I'm going to just kind of leave that how it is. And I don't know if you can see how kind of thin it is, by the way, but I'm going to leave it like that, like I said. And that's pretty much all there is to it. That's it. It's that complicated. Ground beef, some seasoning, a can of beans, and you're good to go. I was talking about loving yourself. I think it's easier to not love yourself. If you never had anybody make you feel good about things, if you were growing up and let's say you come from a family where people didn't show you enough love, or perhaps you were alone a lot. Maybe you come from a family of alcoholics or drug addicts. Maybe you just didn't have a solid foundation growing up. I think that affects how you feel about yourself as you become an adult. I think a lot of that affects how you look at yourself in the mirror. And even if you screwed up a lot in your life and you made a lot of mistakes, sorry, that keeps going to the screensaver. Even if you screwed up and you did a lot of stupid crap, you can't really go back and change any of that. All you can really do is look at that stuff and say, okay, I really messed up here. I should have done this, I should have done that, but I didn't. And this is where I'm at now. This is where I'm at now. No matter what happened in the past, this is where you are. No matter what kind of person you've always been, you can change that person. So that you can be able to look in the mirror and say, no matter what has happened, I still love who I am. I'm a really, a very loving person. And I used to be a people pleaser. I thought everybody else's needs need to come before mine. I thought that that's just how I was supposed to be. I always thought that anything that I wanted wasn't important, as long as everybody else was happy. And I will tell you from experience that got me a lot of nowhere good. Making everybody else happy and sacrificing things that mean something to you is not a good way to live. And it is very difficult to say no to people when you've been a people pleaser most of your life. It's very hard to turn people away when you've always given and given and given, and now you don't want to do that anymore, and you have a choice. You do have a choice. And you don't have to be a mean person, and that doesn't make you a mean person. Just because you say no to things that make you unhappy does not make you a bad person. It doesn't determine your quality of the kind of human being that you are. And people will say that. People will say that to you if you start saying no be ready for some flack from that. But if you hold fast and stay steady and train your mind to say, I'm sorry that you're unhappy about that other person, but if I don't do what's best for me, who is going to? You have to learn how to be responsible for your emotions and your reactions to things. And you do have to learn how to say no sometimes. And you're going to lose people. But the people who love you, they're not just going to walk away from you just because you say no. And if they do, they never loved you to begin with, whether it's friends, coworkers, anyone, really. It's really hard to get out of the people-pleasing mode. I spent a lot of years, and I'm not talking about my kids, because as a parent, you already know that you kind of have to give up some things. It doesn't mean you have to sacrifice who you are, but you do have to change some things about yourself to become the kind of parent that you want to be. And again, it's all a matter of choice. And I know I make that sound really easy, but I will tell you from experience that it has not been always easy for me to do that. It's just been in the past year or so that I've had to learn how to choose me over someone else, because that someone else was not fulfilling my needs. And your needs as a person aren't any less important than anyone else's. And if somebody doesn't appreciate that you need to be taking care of yourself, then they don't care about you. And they don't care about your needs. So this chili, I'm gonna show you this in a minute. I wish you could smell this. It smells so good. And my nose doesn't even work that good all the time, but it's made just around half a pot, which is usually sufficient for just the two of us that live here. Again, if you have more people, add more meat, add more liquid, add more tomatoes. I'm going to let this cook for a little bit, but I'm going to spoon some out here in a minute so you can just kind of see what it looks like. You're responsible for how you feel about yourself. You're responsible for taking care of you. You're responsible for making you feel good about your choices. Sometimes there are no good options. I understand that. Sometimes life just sucks that way. I'm just as real as they come, and I know life just freaking sucks sometimes. It does. Shit happens to you, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it from that perspective. But what you can do is choose how you're going to respond and react. And I'm going to repeat that on every episode of this Eve's Kitchen. You have a choice on how you respond and how you react. But you have to love yourself enough to recognize that you have needs too. And that you are just as important as other people in this world. Your life does make a difference. And sometimes you just don't see it. You don't see the impact you can have on someone. Sometimes you don't even know who's watching you, or what you might have changed about somebody's life or somebody's day just by staying true to the person that you are. If you know that in your heart you're a good person and that you're a person who likes to give love to people, then stay true to that. Stay true to that, the things that make you the happiest. People pleasing isn't a good way for me to be happy. Even when it comes to my adult sons, sometimes the answer is just going to be no. I'm not doing this for you because this makes me really unhappy, and it makes me sacrifice things that I love and that I want to do for me, especially if they're grown. That is not the best way to grow as a person. And I told you on the first video, and I'm going to repeat that over and over again. I hope that I can just make one person stay better. And I try to get up every morning, and I try to be positive about today. Just today. I can't control yesterday or tomorrow, and I can only control what I do in each given moment. And I try to keep myself centered, and it takes daily practice and a mindset every morning when I first get up. I am going to make somebody smile today. I'm going to make somebody laugh without sacrificing my needs and hopefully improving someone's day. Regardless of how small of an act you think it might be, you don't ever know what kind of long-term impact you can have to someone's life just by being kind. And that's a thing that comes with self-love. If you don't have any love for yourself, how could you possibly love someone else? If you don't love who you are at the end of the day, no one's going to appreciate who you are. You have to do that yourself. You have to have that ability to look in the mirror and say, today I did all I could do to make someone's day better. And that's enough. It is enough. You are good enough. You are stronger than you believe. You've survived 100% of your life up to this point, even when it was really hard, even when you had losses, even when you were broke, even when you were tired. You've survived everything that you've been through. And you will survive each thing as it comes along. If you stay centered and stay in the moment, you will be able to handle everything that comes your way. Yeah, people get tired of fighting. I get that. I would love easy things too, sometimes, but you don't always get that. Life it's ebb and flow, and you're always going to have bad with good and good with bad. It's never going to be just one thing or another. But you have the ability to say, even though this bad thing is going on, I don't have to respond to it with a negative attitude. I can still say, I have this, or this to be grateful for. So I hope that I can encourage somebody with some of that. So I'm going to spoon just a little bit of this chili into a bowl so you can actually just see what it looks like. And I'm going to let this cook for maybe 10 more minutes, and then it's going to be good to eat. So, and again, if you don't like ground beef, you can use ground turkey for this. You can use ground chicken, which would be fine. The seasoning is going to make all the difference anyway. So this is what this looks like when it's all done. And those fire roasted tomatoes, like I said, if you have not had those already or used them in a recipe, definitely want to encourage you to buy some of those. They're super good. They have great flavor, and they add great flavor to your foods that you're cooking with tomatoes with. So I think that's about all I wanted to talk about today. And I'm going to top mine with some chili and some cheese and sour cream, and eat it with some crackers. But you can do whatever you like with your own. Hopefully I can make somebody's day better with this video. I want to spread as much love and light as I can to everybody that I possibly can. Because I feel like everything that I put out there in the universe, and this is, I think, true, regardless of what kind of faith you have or what your beliefs are. Whatever you're putting out there is going to come back to you at some point. If you are always negative and always talking down and always thinking down and always thinking the worst, that's what you're going to get back. It just is what it is. It's no matter what your faith or belief system is, you're going to get back whatever you put out. So I'm hoping that by doing this, I will just get feelings of peace in return. I'm not doing it for money. I'm not doing it to be famous. I don't care about material things. I just care about how I feel at the end of the day. And I want everybody to be able to feel good at the end of the day about what you've done today. And I think that's pretty much my goal, is just to feel great about myself at the end of the day. And to get some really good karma in return. So that's Eve's Chili. This is Eve's Kitchen. And again, if you have any questions about this kind of stuff, feel free to private message me and ask. I can tell you what I use, but it's pretty cut and dry. Anybody can cook this. It's not complicated. You don't have to eat ramen or mac and cheese all the time. This is super simple, and it's not very time consuming. So if you are watching live, I appreciate it. And if you see this later, I also appreciate you watching. And everybody have a great evening, and I wish you all the very, very best love and light. And have a great night. Thanks for watching.